big studios have held back artists for far too long. The system is set up to reward the studios and not the artists. In this polarized world, where everything is viewed through a political lens, it used to be entertainment that allowed us to escape. Whether it was a great movie, music, or a favorite entertainer, we always had those mediums to free us from our daily lives. At Creado, we are developing a brand new solution built with the artists in mind, empowering them to deliver original content directly to an engaged audience. Whether you are an investor or you simply want to support our mission, you can become a member today. We are ready to take the next step to bring this to market, but we need your help. Join our mission today at creado.media, and together we will let freedom stream.
Is it just me?
It is.
There you are.
I'm here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining on this 10th day of March, a new perspective Thursday night. We've got some interesting stuff to bring this evening. I'm excited. We've got an amazing guest. I'm your host, Lisa, joined by my gorgeous co-host, Summer. And not today. You're beautiful every day. You know you are.
Today's been a day.
You're beautiful every day. Well, I hope we've got a great listening base going on because we're going to be talking about some really cool stuff. I cannot believe the amount of news going on right now. It's really difficult to keep up with everything that's happening. So we're going to just kind of zero in on a hot topic that's sort of been, it's relevant, but it's not obviously prevalent right now in the news because of all of the look here, look there, look here, look there. We've got a lot of that going on right now, don't we, with Ukraine?
Boy, don't we? It's been crazy. I actually decided to kind of unplug the last couple of days, and I'll get on every now and then, but I feel like there's so much happening and I have no idea. Like I hear it from Eric and I'm like, okay, good to know, but I can't get over the gas prices. Can we just talk about that? Pretty
you know what?
I'm going to start selling organs on the black market just so I can drive my kids somewhere.
Yeah, and I think we all know where this is actually headed with the gas prices. Overall, it's the big push into EV, electric vehicles. But, the problem with that when you start to tie in what's happening with the World Economic Forum, and I love this because I found this meme earlier. So I'm going to read it to you. It says, the year is 2024. Your electric car won't start because for 48 hours, or it won't start for 48 hours because your status on social media was deemed too offensive.
Yep.
And that would be your social credit system.
Well, you want to know what's also interesting? One of a lady who works for me actually in California, they had a Tesla and then they decided to trade in their Tesla and buy a new Tesla. This was back in October. They will not have their Tesla until May. So what are we going to do? If they want everyone to have electric vehicles, and they can't even have one that she ordered months and months ago ready for literally, I think it was 8 months. So it's just insane. And, it's obvious what they're trying to do. But you know what? I'm just going to get a scooter.
Well, I might have to get a snowmobile. I mean, for you, I'd suggest a snowmobile because you guys get that wonky, weird snow that never melts. It never melts in Texas, the snow.
Well, and we're supposed to be getting snow tomorrow, and I was just out running in a tank top and shorts. So
yeah, and it's interesting. Here we are in March, coming up on spring break week, the second week of March.
No, it's spring break here.
Well,
my girls are on spring break.
It's supposed to hit 36 degrees on Sunday in Florida in March.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah. I don't think that I've seen that in the 25 years I've been in Florida.
Oh, Harp is working overtime.
I'm telling you. Something's going on here. So, I wish I could say what I knew what the gas prices were like here. I've only seen it from other people, but, I don't really drive all that much. So I guess that's a bonus. But I do realize that the last time I did go to the pump and fill up, it was a big ouch. And, those Joe Biden stickers definitely come in handy.
They're everywhere, everywhere. And I love it. Yeah, it hit. We are up 10 cents from yesterday. I didn't even look today because I thought this is going to be just astronomical. But Eric did say, he yelled at me. He was like, "Oh no, Costco's at $3.95. So that means the regular pump is at like $4.20." And I said, "That's a perfect number. I'll take it. Let's just drop it there."
Yep, exactly. And I'm seeing people tweet and post on other social media, you know, that the price is jumping in a matter of 8 hours by 20 cents. And, you know, and I know Florida, you know, we definitely do have lower rates than the rest of the country as far as gas prices go per gallon, but still it's climbing. And I mean, it hit over $7 in California, I heard most recently, which again brings in the old Trump was right. I mean, he actually did say, you're going to see gas prices hit, you know, double, triple from right now. And, you know, I hate to bring that up again, but it's true. He literally said this is going to happen. And now we're seeing it happen. Every single thing that many of us who've been paying attention to the finer details of what's happening below the mainstream media chatter, propaganda, you know, narrative push is actually happening, and we're seeing it now, and it feels like it's coming at Mach speed, all these truths, right? So yeah,
it's hard to keep up with them, honestly. One of my daughter's friends stopped by tonight to pick up some stuff. He's headed up to Austin, and I asked him, like, "Did you donate a kidney to drive all the way to Austin right now?" It's like, "No, I've been saving." I'm like, "That's good." But you know, he's, I don't know, 25, maybe almost 26. And it was so refreshing because I had a 2-hour conversation. I fed the boy, and I need to talk to you because I think he actually wants to come on our podcast. He's so incredible, just smart. But he's like, you know, if you've been paying attention, none of this is surprising. And he's right. It's not surprising. You know, I'm new to this, so it still is taking, you know, a little bit longer for me. But I tell you, Lisa, this is a lot.
The thing I can't get over, Summer, the thing I can't get over is the shift in the virtue signal from, you know, the COVID narrative, mask backs from the left side. And now it's all, we stand with Ukraine. But, you know, and I'm seeing, you know, the pictures of Ukraine military in uniform with Nazi swastikas on their left sleeve. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure these people are actually seeing what's actually happening in real time. So we know they're being fed the fake news, false propaganda, and old movie clips and old, you know, issues that have happened in that country, those countries. You know, they're kind of recycling old pics.
You want to know what makes me sad is that for the past 2 years, we have heard nothing but COVID, vaccines, taking care of your neighbor, doing whatever for the better good. And all of a sudden, everything is forgotten. All the lives that were lost, all of the just everything that has happened, it was overnight, it's gone. And I had a really good talk today with Kit Kat. You all know her on Twitter. Anyways, we had this hour-long conversation, and I told her, I said, you know, what I find interesting with all of this is now we have going into spring that, you know, winter of death is gone, and we're all still alive.
I survived.
We survived. They're dropping these mandates, and I guarantee you it's going to go completely against their narrative, where the statistics are going to show that we're probably better off for all of this. And
well,
so what do
they
do?
that.
Let's forget that. But we won't forget what they've done. And we are going to keep talking about it, and vaccines and injuries. And we're not letting this go, because they literally destroyed lives. They killed people to have this narrative go on. And I'm done with them.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that the New York Times did post an article this past week, basically saying that, you know, the vaccines and the masks and all the social distancing were actually found to be completely ineffective. And, you know, again, this also coincided, all of this immediately disintegration of COVID narrative went away really almost
overnight
with the release of the Pfizer documents. But at the same time, now they're warming up for pandemic 2.0. You know, and they're saying, the situation is ripe with all of the fighting and the war and all the impoverished and homeless and displaced citizens. You know,
now we haven't been to LA like in the
right?
recent past.
Well, they're laying the foundation already for their next pandemic 2.0 with saying, oh, well, the situation is ripe for the next, outbreak or viral illness that's going to go on and be
I hate
extremely
these people.
contagious. But every city you see is going, we're dropping our mask dates. Hawaii's dropping their mask dates. California's dropping their mask dates, and it's happening sporadically. And there's still people that are like, they're trained monkeys now. They're still wearing their masks, and they look completely ridiculous and terrified, and it's sad. It's sad because
It is
they've
sad.
they've been fed the fear porn, and they believe it, and they actually think it's doing some good for them when we know it's harmful. It's
Well,
anything but good.
and I'll be very honest. I find it very interesting that when I do go onto social media, you know how it always used to be COVID-19, get the jab, save a life. Now it's Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. There's
Yeah.
nothing about COVID in any of my timelines. Even my daughters are posting now. I mean, it was all about, being a good, I don't know, neighbor. Now it's Ukraine.
Do
I'm
your
going,
part. Do your
I
part.
asked one of my daughters, do you even know where Ukraine is? I don't think she does. To everybody, she doesn't. So love her, but God bless, she doesn't. But you know
Yeah.
what? Go Ukraine. So with that, because Lisa and I can go on forever.
We could go on forever, but
I'm
that's
super
topics for another
excited.
time.
I know. Well,
Well,
and this
I'm
is our
excited
9th
too.
episode.
Is it?
Who would have thought? Yes.
On the 10th. It's the 9th episode on the 10th.
Next week it's 10th. And then we're going to do like little anniversary. We'll do a celebration of our favorite things so far, because we've actually had some amazing shows. I'm really proud of what's happened with this A New Perspective. So I am excited about tonight for several reasons. I met our guest. It was a while ago, and just happened to pop into a space, and he was there, and he made me cry. And I'm not kidding. He literally made me cry. He was talking about his mom. He read something that it was just beautiful. And there I am, just crying like a baby. And I immediately DM'd him, and I just said, that was amazing. You are amazing. And he happens to be gay, and he happens to be a conservative. I know a lot of people think that's an oxymoron, but I instantly felt like this is one of my peoples. Like, he gets what's happening in this world. And so I'm super excited to have him on. He goes by Literally Your Gay Dad.
Literally your gay dad. I love that. I'm gonna say gay dad, and that it feels
We'll
really
just call
weird
him
to
Gay
just
Dad.
I'm just gonna say, hey, gay dad. I mean, this is out of character for me, but it'll
Well,
be interesting.
and I do want to say that was one of the reasons that Lisa and I started this.
I'm gonna say gay dad, and that it feels really.
Okay. Are you recording us?
No, sorry.
I love that, though. It shows me how bad I sound on camera or TV or whatever I'm on. Anyways, Lisa and I started this because it was very important to us that people had a different perspective on things in life. And coming from a, liberal background, and the way that I felt about things, especially the gay community, I am a huge activist for them. I think it's incredibly important that, they are heard, they are seen. And when I was very liberal, that was a big thing to me. I did not think that I would find many conservative gays, but there are many of them, and they aren't heard. And I am very proud that you and I are letting the voices of those that now all of a sudden the media and the government and everybody else want to silence because it doesn't directly meet their narrative. So with that, Gay Dad, welcome to A New Perspective.
Hello, Summer, and hello, Lisa. Thank you very much, ladies, for having me. I hope you both are having a good evening.
We are. I'm drinking some wine tonight because my kids are on spring break and it's been a day. So, cheers to us.
Cheers. Hey, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on and helping to get some awareness out there. And I think this is going to be some interesting conversation back and forth because, there are definitely, I will admit, some points that I could stand to learn from because I do have a lot of sort of formulated, cemented down beliefs, or I guess I don't want to call them charged opinions, just more of a curiosity that feels that I haven't had anyone, you know, object to, I suppose. So, you know, I may choose to inject at certain points in the conversation, you know, and see how you feel about these things. And just to let our audience know, Gay Dad is having some issues with his mic, and we've been hearing that clicking, but we haven't been able to figure out how to fix that. And I'm not sure what the heck it is. So
I would say if we're not talking, just put yourself on mute.
yeah. So, you know, technical issues. We just got to roll with it. It is what it is. So it does. It feels like somebody, almost sounds like somebody's like stamping away at a keyboard or something, clucking away.
And I find it very interesting that out of nowhere, this just started happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Go
And
figure.
there's no cause for it. So,
There's no cause. They just don't want his voice to be heard.
hey, Gay Dad, Medi wants to know if you let the lemurs know.
I did let the lemurs know. Yes.
Okay, good, good. So there you go. Yes, Medi. Medi's our number one fan. He's always with us in the comments, watching live. So Summer, you know, what do you think? What, you know, do you want to give us a, you know, maybe Gay Dad, do you want to give us a little bio about who
Sure.
you are, where you been, who you know, things like that?
Sure thing. Well, you know, I wanted to just kind of sit here and say, first off, I'm not one of those people who gets offended if you ask me a question about the gay community. And I am by no means a mouthpiece for the gay community, because I'm a very unusual person to begin with, and a very unusual gay man to begin with. I really don't even call myself gay because I don't identify with gay culture. I'm a homosexual, but I'm very about having conversations, because gay people, lesbians, everybody who falls under that umbrella, we're not the norm. And if I get offended and refuse to answer a question or slight you as a homophobe or an ist or something, then how are you ever supposed to learn about us? We forever remain a mysterious creature, and well, human beings throughout our history grab pitchforks and torches when they see a mysterious creature. So I like giving people, you can always ask me for an answer. I will give you a fact if it is, or an opinion if that's all I got.
I love it. I love it. And I love that specific point that you come from with that, because, you know, we don't want to stamp ourselves as what we choose to do intimately as who we are right up front and wear it on our sleeve. I mean, that to me is a very strange thing, you know. And I've sort of almost wondered about that, because it you know, it seems like it's been pushed in our faces to the point of nausea, when people, you know, have differing taste or preferences regarding whom they choose to lie down with, right? I mean, to me, it feels like there's almost this offensive attack that's going on within the schools to really talk about genderism, bisexuality, homosexuality, you know, and they're digging deeper and deeper into the younger generation, the younger crowd, really. And right now, right here, it's, you know, and it's too much too soon, really. And so I wonder if there's this, you know, we don't know what's happening and how these kids in this generation have been impacted in totality by this COVID pandemic, lockdown, distancing, masking, you know, and the changes that they've had to endure with the education system. But then, you know, this continual engagement and reference into sexuality and gender, you know, who are you, and, you know, what is your gender? It's like, you know, why do we have to identify at 5 years old with what kind of sexuality we're going to be deemed to have throughout our life? I mean, to me, it feels like a branding in a way. You know, it's a product that they're selling. It's a marketing that they're doing, you know, with the symbolism, with the badges. It's like, you haven't quite figured out who you are. Well, this is the cool crowd to be part of now. You know, this makes you part of something. And, you know, it's identifiable because even though you're different, you're accepted. And so, you know, these kids are so impressionable, I guess. And so I don't know. What do you think about that? I'm rambling at this point because I didn't have a specific direction I was going in. So I'm pulling in several different thought processes as we stream along. So I may or may not have made sense in that rant of mine just now.
No,
I
no,
don't know.
you did. And, I agree with you when what you said is too much too soon. I'm not a fan of lock away sexuality from young people. And when I say young, I mean, like, let's start talking about the birds and the bees and the basics at age 12, 13. And
Right.
that's to arm them so that we can avoid things like unwanted pregnancy and STDs. But
Which
when
is
you start,
sex ed.
yeah, exactly. And as far as children go, all I think they need to know is that homosexuals and trans people exist. End of
Right.
discussion. And
End of discussion. I
and
agree.
some of these programs that I've seen are so absolutely in depth to a horrifying level that I don't think kids should be learning about straight sex, let alone, excuse my tongue, but lesbian scissor sex, gay butt sex, and what people are doing with double ended dildos. Kids don't need to be learning about any of that. They need to be concerned about being children. They need to be concerned about riding bicycles, playing with dolls or action figures, whatever kids are doing today. And I do not approve of what's being pushed on our children. And I think it's really confusing a lot of children. And I don't see a good end for anybody here, whether the children are straight, gay, or actually trans.
Yeah, I
Um,
appreciate what you said with that because I'll tell you, I had to get a permission slip signed in the 7th grade just to learn about the miracle of life, to understand
Same.
how people come to be in this world, the process to which they arrived. And it had nothing to do with going back to lovemaking or intimacy or sex. It was, boys have sperm and girls have vaginas, and girls have the babies because the sperm, you know, goes right to the egg for
Absolutely.
fertilizes it, and that was it. That was what we got to know right then because that was age appropriate. But again, we needed a permission slip, and that's the healthy developmental way to be as far as I'm, and it's not because that's my experience to draw from. It's because that's what I know as a professional who's a dual certified nurse practitioner, and I've spent so much time in books learning about growth and development in every possible aspect that I understand. And having a young daughter myself, I have a 5-year-old. I would never, if they were teaching this at her grade level, I would be furious. She wants to dress up in princess dresses and wear little high heels, and everything is magic, as it should be. Play is the work of the child. Play. That is not play. That's too serious, right?
Well, and can I say something? And I think it was you, Lisa, who said, it's a little too much too soon. And I kind of want to go back just a little bit with regard to acknowledging. Okay, Kurt, give us a little insight. I did not say your name. I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
Literally your gay dad. But about your childhood and what you're seeing now versus what it was like for you when you came out and when you had to talk to your parents and you had to say things. I know, I'm so sorry.
It's
I
cool.
see
It's
that.
cool. It's cool.
My
Don't worry about it.
apologies.
Well,
I consider you like one of my good friends now, so I
it's
genuinely.
fine. It's fine. Don't stress over it. Don't stress over it. We'll work around it. But so Summer and Lisa, to give you the basis of everything, I had diversity training from the moment I came into this world. Both my grandmothers were immigrants, World War II brides, one from Europe, one from Asia. And my mother was a Democrat and a liberal in terms of how the liberals behaved back in the 90s. My father, a conservative Bush era, never Trumper Republican. And my godparents, she was black, he was Hispanic. They were both Republicans. And I at first grew up in toddlerhood in the shadow of a major US city. But before I was 5 years old, I was shuffled off to a place where there were more cows than there were horses. you could see the Milky Way with your naked eye. It took me about a 35-minute bicycle ride each way to go get a Coca-Cola if I wanted to. And I grew up, and also because I am white passing, I do not look Asian at all, or Native American, which I have part of. I fit in like every other kid on the outside, but I was always very different than most kids. It's just my way of going about things and doing things was always very different. Um, and in regards, since we're touching upon sexuality and gender and all that kind of stuff, yeah, when I still lived in the city, I had little girlfriends. And so I was very used to playing with things like Barbies and My Little Ponies. So did my heterosexual little brother. And also having an older sister, that also affected things. When left to my own devices, I was using My Little Ponies as war horses for my Ninja Turtles and Thundercats.
Love it.
When I was with the girls, I was, playing by the girls' rules, being accommodating, being a gentleman. I was always daddy in the house. I wasn't ever mommy. So kind of fast forwarding, through school, I was just, kind of like an outcast kid, very different, again, because of my way of going about things, the way I thought and behaved. And again, I don't think this was really anything homosexual. I did a lot of things that the boys in my area did: guns, horses, the first day of school, or first day of hunting season was an unofficial excused absence. 3/4 of all of us boys were missing, 1/3 of the girls. So
I love that.
yeah, what could you do about that? And I was out there with my dad in camo hunting. But about age 13, I realized something was off. And I wondered what was so different about me as, things started to come to the surface. And actually, I did question if I was gay, but the only gays I knew were from both TV and my mother's friends were extraordinarily feminine.
Mhm.
And I was not like that. And I did not behave like that. And I was not attracted to that. So it wasn't until about age 17, 18, thanks to the internet still being unguarded, that I was able to find out what, gay men come in multiple shapes and flavors of the rainbow. And that some of us can be very straight acting. So at that point, from about age 20 to 26, I started leading a double life. I had some girlfriends, and I also was seeing some men on the side. And also during that time, I was exploring and kind of came into the gay community. But as I told you, I didn't fit in very well with all the other kids that I grew up in and grew up with. And I did not behave like your atypical homosexual. So if what I went through as a child, what they say, the hardest steel is forged by the hottest fires. I was already a solid steel by the time I got there. By the time I got to through the gay community, solid titanium, baby.
So I love
I
that
love
you
that.
just brought that up, because I was going to ask you that question. In recognizing that you were different, and when you're different and you're different, and you're treated according to being different, did you, it sounds to me, based on what I've just heard, that you didn't let that basically inhibit you from becoming who you were meant to be, but instead you used it as a way to strengthen your resiliency and, grow the armor that you were meant to have to get where you are, is what I heard.
Yes, very much so. I mean, excuse the term, but by the time I was 15, I had given out a fucks to give. So I was totally out of them by then. And I didn't care what anybody said or did. I was very content to be sort of like your gray man, always just kind of in the background.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me. So when I got into the gay community, they jokingly in the local community called me Butchie and Wolf Pup. Wolf because I was so feral, and Pup because of my age. And I'd be sitting there dangling a cigarette, rolling up on a motorcycle, just like, "What's up?" And
So
yeah, and
So not the quintessential, like, definitely, deviating away from, what we now know as the norm, which I hate to even say that because, going back to what you were reflecting on earlier, what you know to be, your typical, and I hate because it feels like I'm stereotyping a
that's
stereotype. It's
well,
really
that's
bizarre to
exactly
say
what
that. It's so weird to say that, but and then you wonder. I just lost my train of thought. The very feminine, the very eccentric. So of course you recognize you're different, but you're going, but I don't act like them, but I kind of feel like that. So did you use when you said you had girlfriends in your early 20s, was that because you were exploring or because you felt you needed a cover until you figured things out?
I do feel that it was actually a little bit of both.
Okay.
I was trying to see if I could, in finger quotes, fix myself,
Mhm.
but I was also like, the physical action was okay. I got to where I needed to go, and that is kind of the point of when you're doing the proverbial horizontal tango. But I noticed that when I was doing it with men, it was a lot more fun. So many more senses were activated, and I felt more gratified. And also about that time, this is where I've gotten the name literally your gay dad from, is back in the day we used to have daddies in our communities, and some more feminine men would actually call themselves mama or mommy or some permutation thereof. And these people were guardians of young gay men who would look after us, make sure you're not getting on drugs, make sure you're not sleeping. And I'm going to honestly say I had 5 daddies, and only 2 of them were sexual relationships. The other 3 were just mentor. And it's due to these guys that I didn't wind up, catching something awful like HIV, getting hooked on methamphetamines, which is a
Heroin,
epidemic,
yeah.
especially in the gay community.
Yes,
especially.
in-
And these guys kept me safe. These guys were like fathers, and back in that time we really did risk losing every friend and family we had. I mean, I'm 37, so I was in the tail end of that.
Yep.
And these guys really kept me safe. But to go back to your initial question, I really do think it was my exploration, trying to figure out, is this who I am? Can I be changed? Am I just wrong about my feeling? And it just didn't work. Things did not work in what the heterosexual way for me.
Well, I mean, I think the same can be applied to, your traditional, you know, relationship, men and women. Not every relationship works. It's the same situation. You can't put a square peg in a round hole. It's probably not appropriate to use that specific terminology.
No, actually, it's
but-
perfect. It's
I would
perfect.
say it's great. Cheers to that, Lisa.
Yeah, cheers. I think we're gonna come across a few quips here, but it is what it is. But I think it's the same thing, when you go, well, it doesn't work for you. This isn't a good fit for me. But then, the same can be applied, when you look at, men
Right.
and women.
Right. But I guess to kind of continue on along the story and the path and everything is, I didn't fit in very well with the gays either. There was a lot of teasing, and like a lot of gays idolize old actresses like Betty Davis and Lucille Ball.
Right.
Never cared
Fair.
for them. My female icons are Eleanor Ripley and Sarah Connor from the Alien and Terminator movies. Like that
Yeah.
to me is a good
All
strong
of
The Butch
independent-
women. The Butch
Yes.
women. But wait. Now
Strong
wait.
women.
Because I want to get some education here. So, I know there's the divas that are sort of fanned over by the gay community, the Whitney Houstons and the Cindy or sorry,
There's-
what's her face from Titanic that did they
Celine Dion.
Celine Dion,
Right.
the big powerhouse divas with their voices, they seem to be idolized in the gay community. Is that
Yeah.
like, do you think there's a real, true attachment or idolization, or is it sort of a learned behavior?
I honestly do not have an answer for you on that one. Because
It's almost because it seems like, I'm gay, so therefore I have to like these powerhouse divas.
Cher. Everybody loves Cher. Madonna.
No, they do.
It's all again a
The
scary
eccentricities, the costumes, the big hair, the I'm right in front of your face, I'm pushing myself out there, the big presence. So there's a connection there for some reason. And I almost wonder now, and I'm not trying to like hijack your time here, but
No problem.
my mind does the exploration with, this entire gay pride thing. And I go, I mean, was this a thing that was sort of blown out of proportion because we were trying to, make it okay and make it acceptable and stop the bullying? And then there were so many parents that were such hardcore Christians, and no, not my dear boy, he can't be this way, and I'm going to disown you, and now you're going to be homeless and you end up on drugs. And there was, the high prevalence in this already sort of, it caused a lot of homelessness, drug abuse, and the epidemics that continued to cycle. So, and that was all as a result of the lack of acceptance. So then we go, how do we change this and make people more accepting? And it almost feels like it was a push that got, like, they pushed too hard, right? So now we've pushed it in front of everybody who didn't give a shit in the first place. And the people that were like, don't be a horrible parent, and don't object to your, just because it's your son, he's allowed to have, whomever, or your daughter or whatever, let them be gay, let them be who they are. And there was this whole gay pride thing that came about. Like, where did this spin out of control with it being in our faces, with the parades and, the school, and it's everywhere. I'm seeing it everywhere, and it's intrusive on other people who may not object, but just want to go about their daily life and kind of don't really give a shit.
Well, I agree with you on many of those points. And if you can just give me a second, I'll kind of take you there. But, back in the
Go
day,
for it.
back in the day, gay people, everyone who fell under what was the LGB umbrella, were trying to just gain rights, to be able to not fear getting fired from your job, to not fear that if your partner died, that his family or her family couldn't sweep in and take everything you had worked for. And those were fears that we genuinely lived under, as well as the fag bashing. And these were rights that we fought long and hard for. Also, I mean, I'm not knocking anybody, but back in the 80s, Ronald Reagan gave the platform to somebody who said, AIDS isn't the disease, it's the cure for the disease. And the Democrats were happy just to not say anything on it and let millions of people die, which Fauci had a major hand in. And and so the gay pride needed to happen. We needed to be seen. We needed to fight for our rights. But acceptance, I think, really truly began back in the late 2010s or 2020s, the late 20s, whatever it is.
2000, early 2000s.
2007, 2008.
The Y2K.
Yeah. And really what I noticed was 2012. 2012 was when there was an incredibly major shift. I'm really beginning to wonder if the Mayans were right and the world did end, and now we're all in hell or an alternate universe.
We just don't know about it.
But I say that all the time.
Yeah, but I've always had a great disdain for modern day feminism because I saw the demonization of men long ago. Right. And being more of a masculine gay man, that feminism, what it had morphed into by that point, was very contrary to my own existence. And it's like, no, I don't feel this way about women. No, I don't hate women. And just because I act like that, or even because straight boys act like that, doesn't mean that we are misogynistic. You know, this is just our existence. You are literally demonizing the existence that men evolved over thousands of years to perform. And intersectional feminism started bleeding into the LGBT. And that is when we saw this gender identity explosion. And that is when we saw gender expression really begin to change. And I remember a saying going around, mask for mask, which means masculine gay men, which mean a masculine gay man looking for another masculine gay man. Mask for mask, you never did anything for the community. You were too busy playing straight. Stay the fuck away from Pride. So basically, our own gay community was telling us
exiled.
They
became the parents.
Yeah, lipstick lesbians and masculine gay men suddenly became public enemy number one. Because and it was funny because back in the day, the 90s and thousands, we were celebrated for not conforming to that gay mold of being super feminine or that diesel dyke. Now we did a complete 180 and we were enemies for not conforming to it, for being, as we would call, straight acting, seeming like normal everyday men and women. And it was really about that time, 2012, that everything started to spiral out of control. Also, going back, I've never really been liberal. You know, as a teenager, I had the privilege of getting to live in Japan. And I did not believe my grandmother when she told me how her family reacted for marrying a white man. They completely cast her and her sister off. She did not even see their families again till their death.
Wow.
Because they dared marry outside of the Japanese race. And and you know, in school, I even had some of that indoctrination of, you know, oh, America is full of racism and blah blah blah. After living in Japan, I realized how good we have it over here. This is one of the countries where we care the least about racism. By the time I was age 22, I was saying, I wish that the Republicans would stay out of my bedroom and the Democrats would stay out of my wallet. And so now fast forward to 2012, you know, I am in my late 20s.
Yep.
And it was just that turn on us because of the whole start of the gender movement was my biggest, majorest red pill of my life. Realizing that the LGBT that it was starting to morph into the LGBTQ was turning into a horrible monstrosity, and it was going to a bad place. And I really just kind of walked away, and I haven't done much with the LGBT since.
Yeah.
And so
it feels very cult. It feels very cult-ish, like, and I never used to feel that way until you're right. Now that I have to actually reflect upon it, I would say it was right around that same time frame. And I can't say specifically 2012, but it sounds pretty accurate if I had to reflect back and really zero in on it. But for me, it feels like it's turned into a cult because, you know, we're almost like, we've almost filled up half the alphabet on that LGBTQT, and there's like a plus, and then in the I, and there's another thing now, and you've got all these non-binaries and all these weird, like, sort of, you know, attachments. It's attachments that people are practicing. And if you don't conform to the way that I am, you are not equal to me. And yet we're being flipped. The script is being flipped continually from that community onto the non-LGBTQT plus whatever the hell it is community. And so, you know,
don't you guys feel like that's all from the younger generation? Because I'm with Gay Dad on this one. Like, I'm a product of the 80s, 90s, and I will say, like, I fought hard for this. This is a big thing to me. Like, I definitely, as a liberal back in the day, like, I have been to many rallies, and I worked in, if anyone here knows San Diego, I worked in Hillcrest. I lived right down the street from it. It was the, the gay community, which I always thought was weird that you had to have a community. Like, they should just be people. Like, you are community with everybody, but whatever. I
But
loved
that's
it.
what
It was
cultures.
super
That's
fun.
what cultures do. They
It
they
is. It's
the
culture.
community is a
And I love
culture.
the culture and I love the people, but I do think that it's very strange that you now have this younger generation moving in, and for them it's, how many likes can I get on TikTok? What pronouns can I add on to pronoun? Like, none of it
I
makes
want.
sense.
How can I be more different? Right? What can I do to separate
Exactly.
myself? And more
Taking
people
away from
attached
the
to it.
actual, like, what those of us that were a part of this back in the day were actually fighting for. It wasn't so you could have, all these surgeries at 10. It was so that you could actually marry who you loved. It was so that you could actually, go in front of your parents and be like,
Right.
this is who I am, and I'm still your kid, and you should love me no matter what. And there were just so many things that it's all just now it's all radicalized.
Right.
It's just silly to me.
And
And
so
you can't take it
from a
serious. Like,
Summer, I agree with you. And you and I, we grew up in the exact same generational pattern. So I understand now. And I grew up in a small town, a small farming town, surrounded by cornfields, gay dad. So I get that. But I remember there being, maybe like one or two guys that were sort of, I knew from high school, or, I worked with them in some of my first jobs. And I remember, it was the nicest person I knew. Is gay. I think anything less of him. I did know that he was put through some shit from the boys around town. At times he'd get his ass kicked, and I genuinely felt bad. But like, what am I going to do about it? And he was, maintaining his resilience. He's still holding his head up high, and he was good to go. But I spent time talking to him, and he was a great guy. And I agree. Like, the fight for making sure that there is that equality, but when that equality becomes this disgusting storm that starts to point fingers and make everybody feel like, like we accepted, but now it's like we have to have it crammed down our throat in a sense. And I don't know. I had a point I was going to, and I completely lost my point because there's so many.
I have a question for Gay Dad. At what point did you realize that politically you didn't align with the majority of your community? Because I feel like, for me personally, that's kind of always been where I was, is that I didn't align with what I guess I thought I needed to be, which would have been Republican, because that's what my family is. For me, it was social issues. And again, we all know they get to your heart, your emotions, that's it. But when I chose to walk away, it was because I saw what was truly happening and the radicalization of everything. It wasn't just, the gay community. It was, what they were doing with Trump, and it just nothing. And, the Black community, nothing made sense to me. But where do you think your moving moment, your turning moment in this whole thing was, when you were like, okay, I'm walking away? Because I know mine, so I'm curious to know exactly where yours was.
Was there ever a walking away though? Because I think he was raised conservative, if I heard that correctly.
I would, I had a liberal mother, but liberal by the standards of the 90s, and
Right.
a conservative father.
Conservative.
Yeah, so I got a little bit of both. Like I said, mixed heritage. Even my godparents were a mixed race couple, him Puerto Rican, her Black, and both of them Republican. So I and like I said, my experience living in Japan really taught me that America is far from the most racist place on the planet. But like I said, back in 2012, when there was this sudden flip on us who did not conform to the stereotypical feminine, gay, diesel dyke type of behavior. But another big one was 2017. At first, I did hate Donald Trump. I thought he was a complete asshole. But I watched things and was like, wait, that's not what was said. And it just, that started making me, to give you an idea of how it felt. It was like, there's water running outside the window, but I can see the sun, and they're telling me it's raining. But I'm like, well, that's highly unusual. It is possible for the sun to shine while it rains, but I go outside and someone's spraying the garden hose, watering the plants just below the window. It was, and that's, really was my big moment. And I really kind of looked at what the LGBTQAI, the anything but straight community, had become, and just couldn't even anymore. And I would actually disagree with you, Summer. It's not just the young kids. Gay men older than me are equally as problematic in this problem. I know gay men who are saying all these crazy, outrageous things that I'm like, guys, this does not align with reality. Guys in their late 40s, even guys in their 50s, this crazy gender expression is even afflicting them. But if you kind of want my opinion of what the community is actually like, we've got 3 communities that are all falling under this umbrella, and some of us unwillingly. There is, first off, Summer, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I said I agree 100%.
Yeah. Okay. There is the LGBT community, and this is lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and real trans people. I want to emphasize real trans people. Now, we are split in half. One half is the non-woke, the anti-woke. We can be liberal, conservative, apolitical, moderate. We're not going along with the bullshit. Then there is the woke LGBT, and they're the ones really running along with all this far left identity politics, woke bullshit. And now it's really important to sort of segue onto what the trans community is. We gays and lesbians, our gender identity is fine. We're men and we're women. We know it, and we are totally okay with it. We do not, it's our sexuality that is the deviation from the norm. Right. But with trans people, which is a very rare condition, 0.0003% of the whole human population, theirs is a mix-up of their gender identity. Now, real trans people have what's called gender dysphoria, and they feel like they are trapped in the other body. They are very bothered by their first and secondary sex characteristics. So that's going to be things like penises and vaginas, beards and breasts. And there's some of them so horrified that they don't even want to seek medical help because they have trouble handling their own junk. They don't even want to let a doctor see their junk. So I want you to tuck that in your back pocket right now as I move on to the third community, the TQAI++. So these trans people that are part of this community are having beards. They are gladly talking about their genitalia, giving it all kinds of cute names like Lady Dick and everything like that. And seem to be very forceful on other people. Very forceful. And these people bear no characteristics of what it is like to be trans. None whatsoever.
Right. Thank you for saying that, because that's what I feel.
But honestly, Gay Dad, why do you think that is? Like, what is the shift to where it's like that?
Well, I think that the movement has been hijacked. I know a lot of trans people who no longer want to be called transgender to be associated with those people and are reclaiming the slur transsexual. Real trans people now want to be called transsexual because they don't want to be associated with what transgender has become. So these people, they're very predatory, and it's like a fetish for them. The fetish of transvestitism, being dressed in the opposite sex clothing and hiding under the protection of the LGBT status. And then lastly, we have the queer community. The queer community is just a bunch of boring straight people who need to be as weird as possible. Because most people who are using this queer label are straight, in fact, who are the biggest proponents of hijacking our community. And they just no longer can use goth or emo like they could in high school anymore. So
Right.
I'm queer now. Oh. So yeah. So your boyfriend's wearing a dress and you're just wearing a pair of non-prescription sunglasses or non-prescription glasses, and you're wearing a pair of slacks
And your hair is purple.
Is it
Well,
for
your hair's purple.
attention? Is it for attention because they are they're so uncomfortable in their own skin that they're sort of seeking attention, or and that's just one question regarding it. But then when we talk about that third like outlier, that's like you're not really part of us, even though you've sort of like kind of integrated your way into our culture, and nobody's really sort of pushing you out. We're just kind of going, okay, well, we're asking to be accepted. I guess we should be accepting of you, even though we don't really feel comfortable with you. We don't really know your type. You're a little foreign to us. Like, we're not really sure what you are. But, I wonder, because it seems like, there was this massive push for, same-sex marriage to get pushed through. And, there was the crowd that was like, no, this is against the Bible, la, la, la. And then there was a crowd like, we need our rights because, we love is love. Love is love. That's what I remember that message. Love is love, right? And that's fine. Like, I agree with it. But it's like, and everybody was finally like relieved when finally it passed, like what, 2015 or somewhere around there. It passed. And it was like, oh, thank God, we can kind of like, it's settled. We're good. Let's move on. But that's when, to me, it seems like really everybody grabbed, their sort of proverbial bow and arrow and started like really attacking people. Like, you really need to accept this. No, we don't really think you accept this. Like, you really, really, really need to accept this. Get in there.
And it was more than that.
It was
That was
weird.
when they were trying to, or when they actually started pushing legislation, education, like
Yes.
all of these
Propaganda. The
Propaganda.
propaganda. And
Yeah.
we started seeing, and I wonder, because what you say, it's been hijacked. Is this a hijacked
100%.
movement with a goal in mind
Yeah.
to lead the path to transhumanism?
Yep.
Well, I don't know too much about transhumanism, so I will have to decline to comment there. But I'm going to
Okay.
say one of the biggest problems is that, well,
gender.
we won our equal rights, just like
Right.
feminism. Once it ran
Right.
its course and it was no longer needed, it needed to find a way to survive, and it became an oppression Olympics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it also
And,
became a way for the government to make more tax dollars off of us, too.
100%.
Absolutely.
And divide families and leave kids run amok and get hooked on drugs and become slaves to the prison system, which collected more and more money, and everything else makes people more vulnerable. And we've divided families, and we've sort of created an entire shitstorm of generational disease pattern that now becomes those kids that are so vulnerable to this outlier community. Like, you don't really know who you are or where you belong or where you fit in, because you feel like just completely abandoned and who the hell am I? And come join our group. We'll accept you, just abide by our cult rules and you're good to go. You're who we say you are.
And
And
it
if you step
100%
out,
is a cult. Like, if you look, well, this new thing is a cult. I don't believe that the original, and I hate saying it like this, but like the OGs, the ones that literally were fighting for equal rights, for marriage, for the
Right.
things that, matter to that community as they should. You now have these kids that are just like,
it's gone to the next level.
it's gone to a next level. And I
A
think
level a level that's really taken a very sinister turn, and it's like it's off the rails. Like, it's derailed, and it is a hot shit storm rolling over everybody, and there's no signs of it stopping. So at what point is there the intervention? Because, well, if this one has to be accepted, that one has to be accepted, that, and where the hell does it end now? Because teachers are saying, if you're a dog, it's okay, you can be a dog, we'll just come and pet you. Like, why do we have to have cat litter boxes in bathrooms for kids because they think they're a cat? Like, what the hell has
But
happened
why?
here?
And I have this question for Gay Dad, because genuinely I want to know, like, do you feel like you've been pushed out of your community in certain ways because of your political views, because you're not 100% on board with all of this,
Yes.
because you don't have a TikTok, going,
Yes,
whatever they
100%.
say? See, and to me,
Absolutely
that's
100%.
not true activism. That's fake activism.
Of course.
Oh,
It is.
it absolutely is. You know, one of the sort of battle cries of the LGBTQAI anything but straight community is diversity is our strength. But these people sure hate the diversity of thoughts.
Yep.
Right.
That is
They really
dangerous
do.
to them.
And yeah, opinion.
The hammer or the nail that sticks out will get hammered down. And I have always been a fiercely independent
that.
black sheep, dance to the beat of my own drum, and I'm not about to capitulate to this, especially in the directions that you ladies have just spoken on. As we kind of just covered a moment ago, with the
Mhm.
winning of our equal rights, the fight was over. There's
Right.
nothing to worry about.
Yep.
We're good.
Let's
And
move on.
yeah, well, to keep the beast going, it needed to
Mhm.
be invented.
Mm. We
Something
needed
new
more
got invented.
controversy. We
Absolutely.
needed more controversy. So with
More
more
controversy.
controversy that was
uprising.
drummed up, it was drummed up, it was made up, it was, it was created, and you couldn't find it anywhere. These people said it existed, but you literally could not find it anywhere. And so they created this propaganda machine, right? It encircled, and the government almost grabbed onto it and said, we could use these guys. They're gonna, they're going to steamroll over.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we're going to call everybody a homophobe, we'll call everybody a Nazi or a white supremacist, or anti-Semitic, or whatever name we want to attach, just to shame, which kind of goes exactly against, and it's quite ironic, isn't it? It's everything that same-sex homosexuals were fighting for in the first place. It's
Well, it's just like it goes back to feminism.
irony
It's
of
the same
it.
thing. But you know what? And that's what I had a hard time with this is like hard to say sometimes, but
Spit it out.
when I chose to walk away, one thing that was so important to me, but I was so scared of, and I know, Gay Dad, like we've talked about this, but I don't believe in everything that like Republicans believe in socially. I just don't. And I think that
Same here.
I was so drawn to certain things because of what I have seen, what I've grown up with. And I'm like, it just doesn't matter. Kind of like the whole like black white thing. I'm like, none of it makes sense to me. And the whole gay thing really I've struggled with like big time. And I was so put off, and I'm going to come around with this, but I was so put off by how Republicans treated the gay community. Little did I know. And I'm
How
going to
did
say
they?
it for everybody.
How did they? Because I've
Well,
been a
there are
conservative for
certain
as long as I
people
can
that
remember.
treated the gay community, but I'll be very honest.
Where
Me
did that
and
number
this,
lie?
like, exactly. It's
I
like
mean,
just come
you're
and try.
talking about a
But that
very,
was all the
very, very
media.
small percentage, again, of potential, who knows, some very tight, generationally raised, limited outside scope, and that
that was like the group of people that the media focused on.
right,
They didn't
exactly.
focus on
They blew
everybody
it
else.
up.
So
They blew it up. They
that's where I'm
exaggerated.
circle with this
Yeah.
is that, I realized that there was so much love and acceptance in I don't even know what to call us now, just the America First, like community.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I
America
like to
First
look at it
community.
this way. If I could, is that the parties, had the great switch back in the 60s.
Yep.
Yes, they
And
did.
Yep.
I think that there has been another shift right here, right now. It has been happening since about the 2012, 2015,
Mhm.
and both parties have been shifting. And
This is
I would say
wild.
that wildly, but I would also say that we both are fighting a similar problem. On the Democrat side, it is the old school guard, corrupt Democrat establishment. And then there is the far left biting their tongues, actual goddamn communist socialists.
Yep.
Over here, it is the old school Christian, homophobic, lightly racist, establishment corrupt Republicans, and the American First. who are fighting it out. Both the parties are being split in half.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been this shift in both parties that has made the Democrat Party way less palatable to me and has made the Republican Party way more palatable to me. Or did I say that right? Less palatable Democrats, more palatable Republicans.
I agree.
Right. Well, because like you said, that under the cover switch that took place in the 60s, where everybody who thought they were, less government, less taxes, and, however you identified, those parties, there was that complete turnover. And what we've come to expect of a Democratic Party more reflects what historically we've seen in the Republican. But here's the thing. I think most patriots today will not identify as either a Democrat or a Republican.
No, I
but
hate
more
it.
so, a conservative or an American. I'm an American, and that's what I am. Just like,
And that's who I am.
And
right,
here's
we're
another thing.
Americans.
For all of us, like the three of us here, I think we can all identify with the fact that like we're kind of partyless at this point. Like we don't really belong to a party.
We've got a runaway government, is what we've got.
Yes,
100%.
and it's wild. But for me, it's like, you know what? I'm gonna love you if you're good. If you're a good person, like I
Right.
don't care what you
At
do
the
in the
end of the day.
bedroom. Just do not infiltrate mine. Like just let me be and have
Right.
my life, and you do you. And
Yeah.
we have just gone so far from that. Now it goes back to the fact that they have to be so excessive and in your face. And it just makes me think, again, it's so ingenuine. Like it's not real to
Well,
me.
if I could kind of put a comparison out there
Like
for
we'll
you.
use it as like a marketing
And
prop.
wrap it off.
Well,
Mhm.
back in the day when the sort of fundamentalist Christians were out there doing their fundamentalist Christian thing and telling us we were going to hell
Yeah.
and shouting in our faces, it certainly didn't do anything to quell us down to make us not gay. So I would now like to flip the script and say, if we have a bunch of raging lunatic LGBT people screaming in your face, how's that going to make you like them any better?
Amen.
Right.
And, it's very appalling to me. I have so many issues. Like I said, we have these three communities all falling under the LGBT. And the TQAI transgender community is majorly problematic for us. And with some of the issues that we were talking about before the show, they are the major proponents of that. But
Did you say transgender? I love that
I
term.
did.
I know I heard that. Transgender. That is perfect.
Well, and that's exactly what
I'm glad
it
you
is.
love it. But now
That
let's
is
go.
perfect.
But let's circle back to the LGBT that is woke.
Mhm.
I just cannot stand these people. For the older gay men and women, I want to sit there and go, you remember what it was like. You remember when it was done to us.
Mhm.
Why do you think this is going to work on the straight community? Why do you think this is going to work on the heterosexual community? Why do you think this is going to work on the conservative Christian community? It is not. It was not cool when it was done to us. You are just doing us a disservice. Now, with
Right.
everybody screaming, oh, oppression, oppression, oppression. Again, back when I was a child, and the danger was even more for the men and women of the 70s and 80s
Yeah.
and 90s,
Yeah.
that you could lose everything. You could be
Everything.
fired. You could
Be
have
killed.
if your partner died, his family or her family could come in and take everything from you. You could be thrown out of your house and lose every friend you grew up in. And
But-
now we are celebrated when we come out. During the month of June, every major corporation changes their logo to a rainbow.
Mhm.
And you guys want to tell me that there's oppression running rampant and that we are absolutely hated? There's a fun fact. The tolerance for the LGBTQAI++ has gone down in the last few years, but it's not because a bunch of homophobic white supremacists have awoken. It is
No,
because of this bad behavior.
absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'll say
And I
this.
agree with that.
And pushing it on little kids. and making
Absolutely.
it so that it's,
They're making
always
it pervert. They're making it. They're highlighting what they're making people feel is there is some real pedophilia perversion
they're
concerns
normalizing
going
pedophilia and they're
on
using the gay community, and I hate
as
that.
their cover. And here's the thing: you're now being ostracized for choosing your sexuality, or identifying it
Absolutely.
with your sexuality. You're now being ostracized right out of your comfort zone that you came to find your acceptance in. And this is where I belong. I identify with this. That's cool, but I'm still me. I'm good with who I am. I came to my acceptance, and I went through my shit to get here, but I got here, and now I'm being kicked out of this one because there's some bad actors that have now infiltrated this community, and they're running people over. It's become this this horrible
Well,
monstrosity
it's a
of
moneymaker.
a situation.
Absolutely.
Well, and
Yeah.
think about it, Gay Dad. Like,
Everything. It's always
genuinely,
about
it's
money.
now a moneymaker. Like, you have series on Netflix, you have your month, which rightfully so. However, when there's a group of people that are making money on that, I don't think that's right. They are, I mean, just like with education, they're making
Absolutely.
money off
And
of it.
here,
like I
wait,
said-
and I want to
It makes
attribute
me
this
so
as well.
angry.
It's not even just the LGBT community. Okay, we've got the same exact thing happening now, because you identified that. Look, you said in June we are celebrated. Yes, you are, but also recognize that we're being called white supremacists, and we know that we all are. But we see Black History Month. We've got Black Entertainment Channel. We've got the Black Awards. We've got all kinds of Black sports players that they dominate our sports. Like, they dominate American sports, and they're given these $1 million contracts to they're given increased access to jobs based on their race and history of oppression. And there's more and more and more rights in the last 20 years for Blacks than there have ever been. But now we've got this massive push that's coming from
But
bad
it's never
actors.
enough.
But it's not them, though. It's not them. It's
No.
bad actors, the same thing, that have infiltrated and used it as cover and called it, what is the thing? I'm having like a dumb moment. It's the
I
biggest
would
thing
sit
that
here and
happened with
say-
Minneapolis. What was that?
I'm
It's-
sorry.
I'm so blanking out. It's the Black.
George Floyd,
Yeah, what was that? What movement am I thinking of?
BLM.
Thank you,
BLM.
BLM. I'm telling you, that's how blanked out I'm having right now. So BLM, like,
That died
BLM
like
comes to
COVID
the
did, though. Did you
surface.
notice that?
Yeah,
BLM
wait,
died with
well,
COVID, like gone.
They died when Biden was freaking inaugurated, or
And that's where
whatever
I have
it was.
a problem. It's not real. It's fake activism.
It's
It's
propaganda.
people that are making money off of
Product,
our
a branding. They're using it as a branding
Yeah, I hate
to
it.
appeal to the hearts of people and make them check themselves, and it pushes and suppresses people down and makes them question who they are or their neighbors, because now we're being fed this big propaganda machine by the news. And is it my neighbor that's this way? Like, who are these people that they're all around me? And you're turning like these very strange, like, stay-at-home moms with, like, plain Jane, like,
Well, now
trying
they
to
have a
appeal.
They're
Trying to
fake
appeal.
activists. They're
fake
getting
activists.
attention from it. They get attention on TikTok. They get attention on
Yes.
Instagram. It's
Yes,
all
and
fake
they
activism.
look foolish, but they look foolish. And so,
So they are foolish.
well, I want to ask, and did you want to add a comment on that, Gay Dad? Because I have a question.
Yes, actually, I would.
Good.
I would actually like to attribute a lot of this to cultural Marxism.
Yes.
Cultural
100%.
Marxism that is destroying us. Because, like I said, with the intersectional feminism bleeding into the LGBT and starting the ground for LGBTQAI++, a lie was born at about 2015 that has annoyed the ever-living shit out of me. And that is that the Stonewall Riot, which was the pivotal turning point in the gay rights movement, was started by two trans women of color, Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. I literally have an interview saved on my phone with Marsha P. Johnson where he, who was a drag queen, as was Sylvia, neither trans women, Marsha says, I wasn't at Stonewall. And Miss Sylvia was uptown having a cocktail, which was code back in that day in the late 60s for having a heroin trip. And furthermore, 5 of their close friends and roommates fingered Sylvia as being uptown. There's no way that they could have been, or he could have been anywhere near Stonewall. But Marsha said, I got there and the riots and the fires had already started. But we're being told that it was all started by these 2 trans women of color. And that's been used to silence gays and lesbians and say, the entire gay rights movement was born from trans women of color, and you rode their coattails all the way. Now you need to shut up. You don't get a voice. It's the trans women's turn.
Wow.
Oh
And
my. So this is, wow.
A lie
Wow.
to silence gay men and lesbian women. And
To hijack the community.
to hijack the community
And women.
live
Like,
a lie.
Wow. Unreal.
And this cultural
I
Marxism
hate this.
has totally twisted the minds of so many. Like I said, this is a multi-layer problem. We have
It is.
people who are not really LGBT saying they are LGBTQAI++, jumping into our community so they can just have an excuse to be as weird as possible.
To ride the
and
cover.
Right. And it gives
Yeah.
them attention. Think about it. Like, they're the ones that are
It
on
does.
loads of TikTok. They're the ones that are all over the place because they're so out there and eccentric, and they get attention. It's not genuine at all.
Yeah,
And
but there's
also-
got to be a bottom line to it. There's a bottom line behind it eventually.
Well, I do not know. I will not profess to know what the bottom line is, but I definitely foresee all of the dangers in it. Going back, it's not just them who are the problem. The woke side of the LGBT is equally problematic. Again, they're crying out oppression, and I'm like, guys, it's never
Who's
been a better
oppressing
time
them?
to be gay.
Who's oppressing them? Where are they being
The
oppressed?
media.
I want to know. There's same-sex marriage. I mean, they're more accepted now than they've ever been in history. Men and women were losing their lives and being tortured in some really disgusting and scary and
They still
sad
are.
ways. In
different parts
over
of the
this
world.
last entire century, in all of the 1900s and into the 2000s. And Gay Dad's right. It was about Y2K when things sort of shifted, and people and it's a generational thing. It was learned because I think our generation was not raised to hate people. We were raised to just accept people and say, just don't
No.
infringe on my rights, and I
Not
don't give
for
a
this
shit about
movement.
yours.
This was a
I don't
big
give a shit.
movement for many of
was.
us.
It was a big
And-
movement.
And it was a beautiful movement. It was. And it's been totally
Right.
co-opted.
And so when you say multi-layer, I just want to bring it up because we are getting short on time.
Everything woke turns
so-
to shit.
Everything woke turns to shit, we know, but like this big push that they're doing now, and the gubbies, I love that term, so I'm gonna grab onto it now, the gubbies. So I'm seeing a lot of Twitter, political figures posting this "don't say gay" rhetoric nonsense about these conservatives or Republicans voted this "don't say gay." They're homophobic. They don't want anything to do. They want to
Lisa, we're
they
going
want
to
to
show
embarrass
the
us.
bill. We have.
Oh yeah. So we have to show this, but let me give it let me preface it for a minute, because it's agitating because they put this big ugly headline out there like, oh my God, they're so anti-gay, they're so homosexual. Can you believe they passed this bill? This is these disgusting white supremacist, homophobic, anti-Semitic people that are trying to like take over our government. And they're using these lies, these big ugly headlines as lies, and then you grab onto what they've sort of tagged as this big ugly headline, and it doesn't fit anything they're saying. But how many people are actually reading these things or just immediately going, oh my God, I can't believe it, it's just one more thing these white supremacist conservatives are doing, I can't even read this right now. Like the mainstream media is almost banking on people not doing their homework.
And they love it. They eat it up. It's just
They do.
gold to them.
And I have read the bill myself, and I find it completely reasonable.
Absolutely.
I'm happy about it.
I am too. It's about 7 pages long, and there's like 5 major clauses, and only one
Yep.
of them relates to the LGBT. The rest of
Yep.
them are about parental rights and about
Yep.
mental health.
Yep.
And
Which
Emotional
and
needs,
all the
meeting the
all the
emotional needs of kids. Mhm.
and all the anything that has to do with the LGBT is just saying that certain
It's
things should be taught and should not be taught age appropriate.
right. They
That's
talk
it.
about the developmental level, the emotional developmental level. You know, we don't need to be having a discussion about, you know, homosexuality or gender
sexuality, let's
discernment
just get
when you're
along.
5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. It's literally K through 6. Can you please leave our K through 6 alone and let's let them
Right.
focus
You know,
on,
that's the
you
most
know,
vulnerable.
right? Let's let them learn their alphabet maybe first. How about that? Can we
Yeah,
learn the
let's bring back
ABCs?
cursive writing.
How about cursive writing? Because you show them a cursive letter and they are so
Oh,
confused.
so confused.
Well, you know, I'm in my mid 30s right now, and I purposely went back to writing cursive just to piss off my fellow millennials, because I
love
love
it.
being an asshole like that. So every handwritten
I love
letter is
cursive
now in
writing.
cursive.
Good for you. I only write in cursive. I
love
hate manuscript.
Yeah,
But
I write in
a lot of the
cursive.
reason,
I love cursive.
I think they've moved away from that, which I don't agree with because hello, cursive, you've got to know how to write both ways. I agree with that, you know, because we're reliant so much on technology now that you can't really identify cursive in the text format found on, you know, your keyboard on words or whatever. You know, when you're reading online documents, there isn't cursive to be
Right.
found, and I think it's, you know, but it's important because, you know, we want to remember history, and a lot of historical documents have cursive writing on them. But aren't we trying to get rid of those too? We're trying to hurry up and sweep those under the rug.
Right,
CRT,
right.
another aspect of bullshit. So
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of exploration on this topic, and you know, a lot of concern for me because, you know, and anybody else really, but like I've got such a curious thought process because I attribute all of this to, you know, marketing 101
Yep.
and psychological warfare.
Well, and we saw this for the last 2 years of our lives. And now all of a sudden, because, you know, there's a different narrative and things are coming out about what we were taught for the last 2 years, it's gone.
Mhm.
And that's what they do. They did it with, we'll just say cursive writing. They did it with cursive writing, but they most certainly did it with the gay community. They use the gay community to make them money.
A shield.
And they do it all the time. I mean, think about it.
Shield.
Like, it just like BLM.
There's
It's
bad actors
all
everywhere.
used for money. It's propaganda, and
Yeah.
it's only used by one side. And
So how
that's
do we-
where my like awakening moment came from. I'm like, what? You
Well,
really
absolutely.
you don't hear like I don't even America First people. We don't care. We just want you to like love your guns, love your God, and love your fellow man. We don't
Love
care.
your
And our
country.
Like,
Love
we're
your
gonna fight for our
country.
country.
And that
Well,
means respecting it and making it move forward. Who gives a shit if you
Amen.
agree with somebody's personality? If their business and their politics make sense for the greater good, not the individual, like I'm offended. How about your future generations and your fellow man, not just what's within your front windshield
Yep.
view? Get the
Right.
fuck out of here with this. I mean, that's the point that pisses me off because I'm coming across this more and more with people. I literally admitting to me they're so angry that they voted for Biden because they know. And when I say to them, I go, well, you know, was it Trump's politics or was it his personality? And they go,
It's his personality.
it was his personality. I'm like, and what have we learned here? Like,
I had
where
that
is the
conversation
lesson?
last night with one of my friends. It was literally, and she's a Black American, amazing, and she's very conservative, if you will. But the whole thing with Trump was, well, he's rude and he's mean, and exactly. But she loved everything else about him.
I bet their boss is rude and mean, but they pay they write her
But we've
paycheck.
been conditioned to think that as a president.
Feelings. It's all about feelings.
Oh
And
my
that's
God,
what they've been
that's
working
huge.
up to. That's what we've been working up to, and everything we've been talking about this evening now with the content based on how you're making me feel. Don't make me feel that way. You're intruding on my feelings and my emotions, and they're pleading on people's emotions. And we've got to we've got to walk so gingerly now. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. But
Well,
my God, Trump shows up and calls it like it is. And he's like, how abrasive my feelings, right? And so that's how they shift that dynamic with all this shit that's going on in the propaganda.
They just totally
Yep.
They absolutely and but going back to sort of the don't say gay bill, there's nothing about not saying
Nothing.
gay. As far as
nothing.
as I stated at the very near beginning of this, is all I think kids need to learn is that gay people exist and trans people exist, and that's the end of the discussion. And
Yeah.
I don't think that kids under 6 need to be learning about any sex, whether we are under 6th grade, need to be learning about any sex whatsoever. It's just going to warp them. And when we do give them sex, we teach them the very basics to arm them to prevent them from unwanted pregnancies and from STDs.
Yeah.
We don't need to, we definitely do not need to be teaching
There's
5-year-olds.
Starting your heart and making sure that that you're
There's-
having sex with good people.
There's no reason
That's the
they
mom
need to
in
be learning about, exploring their intimacy at this age. It's too much too soon. You're stealing their childhood. You're stealing their innocence.
Absolutely.
You're trying to normalize it to open the door for potential bad actors, pedophilia, and asking boys and girls to share bathrooms. We see this. What happened in Virginia? A girl got raped. The mother turns around of the actual criminal who raped her and says the girl should have fought him off. She blamed the victim. We're
Of
doing so
course.
much victim blaming.
We have done a total 180 as a
It's
society.
Stockholm
Yes, we have.
syndrome.
We have done a 180, and it's disgusting, and people need to push back. So we need to identify, what can we do? We need to have a plan rather than just the discussion. We've identified the problem. How do we turn it around? How do we fix it? What can we do as a country in a whole? Where can we flip the script? Where can we turn
As
this
a
around at?
community,
How do you
though,
push
too.
back? How do you
Well,
push back?
It's very hard to say where and how to push back when we have a whole bunch of people who literally look at this as reality, who literally refuse to see the forest for the trees, who
Yep.
will believe whatever the TV man tells them to believe. For example, like we just
Television.
said, this is 7 pages. And if you read it, I don't think it's an unreasonable, and there's nothing
I
about
don't either.
abolishing LGBT people.
Nothing.
With that
But-
said,
but-
I'm gonna have Randy. Hold on one second, Gata. I'm gonna have Randy. I'm not even gonna text him this. We actually have the bill, parts of it,
Yeah.
parts that we think are important, and
Yeah.
I know Gay Dad has seen them. But Randy, why don't you go ahead and just show a couple?
Yeah.
So-
So I read this twice last night because I said, what the hell is this guy talking about? Because I read it and then I was like, I'm going to go back and read again. It is not a hard read. This is one of the most simplified bills that you can actually pick up and probably read
And we
right
recommend
now.
you screenshot it.
It's very plain. It's easy to decipher. It's a quick read, and you can it's plain as day. There is no language in this bill whatsoever that even mentions, not saying gay. So this is propaganda right here, right in your face, 100%. And we can read this. Where are we at?
Georgia.
I'm gonna get right to the nitty gritty because it's a little bit small. So, slide to the next one, Randy, if you could. Where is this at?
I think it was the first one.
Yeah, well, I highlighted, but there's more on it there, right there. I mean, I highlighted that because that was really the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. And there was like 2 other mentions, but it was of the same exact. It was just a little expansion on the exact same thing. So no private or non-public school or program to which this chapter applies shall promote, compel, or encourage classroom discussion of sexual orientation or gender identity in primary grade levels. Guys, primary grade levels is literally K through 6. And when did sex ed begin? In our generation right now. And I graduated 97. Summer, I don't know, probably same
95.
95, 96, 97, yeah. So 7th grade, right? For the longest time, we had to get permission slips in the 7th grade just to watch The Miracle of Life, which was pretty graphic to watch a, natural birth. And of course,
I know
we
had
didn't go
plenty to
into
tell
the
them.
whole, We didn't do a classroom, you go around the classroom and say, hi, my name is so-and-so. There was no, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I think I'm gay. I might be straight. I don't really know what I am. I'm a cat. There was none of that going on. And this is what this leads to. I mean, these people pushing this propaganda, like, and I said to him, I was so agitated with, this congressperson posting this. I actually said to him, I go, I'm a little concerned that you're, demonstrating a little perversion here, and actually, saying that this is disgusting. Like, as a parent, I'm actually thankful that this bill is here, because I have some safeguards against potentially people like you. That's a little frightening. Why are people that are in, govy positions trying to promote this propaganda now?
Well, it
It's
makes them money.
propaganda. But how is it making them money? How is
They're
it making them money?
Well, think about it. I mean, I can just tell you, like my husband's job, I mean, he works for a tech company and everything is about equity, equality. I mean, the whole pronoun thing. He is one of the very few that doesn't have a pronoun in his signature. He's like, you know what? Look at my name, look at my face. I'm a dude. Like, that's just where he comes from. And all of a sudden it's like, you have pronouns and everybody's just, it's the latest
Yeah,
craze.
but this concerns me that they're fighting this because it may open the doors to pedophilia if they had it their
Well,
way.
that's what they would love.
And they're trying to normalize it, and we're seeing it more and more, because I'll tell you,
And they're using the gay community to do it, and that to me is
and they're
absolutely
using it as a
bullshit.
cover, and that's exactly what's
100%.
happening. That's exactly what I'm getting at. They're using it, the gay community, as a cover once again to try to walk through and normalize some very suspicious behavior.
Well, for about 4 years now, I have been saying, God, I miss the good old days when it was the far Christian Republican right that was trying to say that we were trying to normalize pedophilia and make it the LGBT. And back then, that was absolutely a slanderous lie coming from the right.
Right.
But with what's going on now,
Different story, right?
Very different story. Things
Mhm.
have changed, as I said. People in society and the parties have done a 180. I would like to just sit here and kind of speak on behalf and against the LGBT community and the pedophilia. Is that the only people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, or trans who are going to support this are pedophiles who just happen to be gay, lesbian, bi, or trans. The vast majority of the pedophiles are, heterosexual people. But, I'm not going to say that there aren't gay, lesbian, bi, and trans ones. And they are, of course, in favor of this bill because they can get away with whatever they want. A big driving force of this is the queer community and liberal white women who want the virtue signal to sit there and say to society, I'm so loving that I can even accept a pedophile. Look at me, everybody. I'm such a good person. Even I can love a pedophile. And that's the major drive behind this, is to allow perverts to get at kids completely with abandon without any repercussions, and the people who want the virtue signal to say, I love those people too.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Gay Dad? Do you think that a lot of this virtual signaling from white women is because we feel that we need to show that we're accepting? Because everything that you hear is that we're racist, we're homophobic, we hate all these things. So now it's like overboard. That you have to go out of your way to be this fake activist to let people know that you really do love them and you do accept them, and you'll take anything. Like, you can be a dog, you can be a cat. Come on in.
Right.
Instead of just being real about it and being like, look, I support the gay movement. Personally, I've done it.
I am in favor of let's shut down the progressive women power until we can figure out what the problem is with them. Let's just take them offline. Let's take them offline, power them all down.
It's
I love that.
so scary to think that that's where we've evolved from, the 60s, which was a generation that you would have thought would have been, pro women, which they're pro women, but they're pro their women. Like if you meet their agenda, then they're all
Yeah.
for you. I mean,
Right.
look at what
So
they
again, it's not about inclusion; it's exclusion, and
well-
inclusion by exclusion,
Right.
right? So they're doing
So
this like ridiculous psyop from within on several different facets, and it pisses me off to no end. They're
Oh,
actually,
absolutely.
yeah. So
So here's the thing. I'm just going to leave you guys with this part. You have Hillary Clinton, and then you have Melania Trump. She is my idol. I love Melania Trump.
Gorgeous.
She's beautiful. She is like everything I want
Classy.
in life.
Freaking gorgeous woman.
If she
She
would
is
have been a
beautiful.
liberal or a Democrat, oh my gosh, she speaks 5 languages. She's been
Oh,
all
yeah.
over the world. She's been in Playboy. Like they love that.
Yeah.
But all of a
Yeah.
sudden, because she's not on their team, she is all of these things. And it makes no sense to
so
me.
fake.
However,
It's
I
so
could come up-
fake.
and she does amazing with Christmas trees. That's all I have.
I could come up with about
I
a
love
billion examples of liberal hypocrisy for you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, I think we need to continue this to next week because I feel like the 3 of us could go on forever and our
Oh,
audience.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But keeping it, sort of more onto the subject at hand.
Mhm.
I've noticed that even in the woke gay community, they know that this pedophilia thing is wrong.
Yeah.
But they don't say anything because they are so scared of the monster that is the LGBTQAI plus
Yes.
community.
Yes.
They know
Yes.
that diddling kids is wrong, but the woke gays and
Wrong.
lesbians and real trans people feel powerless to stand up against it. And on the subject of white woke liberal women, other than our woke LGBTQ brothers, or our LGBT brothers, and the transgender TQAI community, white liberal women are one of my biggest annoyances. I got into a fight with my heterosexual white sister-in-law who started pointing her finger at me on a gay issue and started going, no, anytime I open my mouth, no, like a bad dog. And it was just like,
Wow.
excuse me, woman, but who here is actually in the LGBT community? What do you know besides
Well,
what you learn on Facebook and Twitter?
I genuinely think that most of these now women feel like they are part of this community because that's the thing is like, oh, you support it. Like my
Right.
daughter, I love them to death, but oh my gosh, they wanted to get shirts that say allies. Like,
But they
I've
don't know
been an
enough about
ally
what
for
they're
years. I'm not gonna
promoting.
wear a shirt, but
But again,
okay.
here we go. They're trying to carry around a brand for somebody else's product. They're
Yeah.
being used as a vessel for free. They're not getting paid to promote this shit, but they think
No.
they're doing it by some justice warrior standard, which they know nothing
Well,
about. They only
because
know
then
the
there's
surface
somebody
of
else
it.
who's an ally that then's like, oh, you're an ally. We're
Yeah,
allies.
that's how the
Again,
store
Like
Aeropostale
this
made their
company,
money. They
It's
literally
such bullshit.
Right,
Well,
that's
they
how
sit there and they say, I want to lift up Black voices. I want to lift up LGBT voices. But the moment they meet a gay man or a Black man or a woman who is not holding the narrative, suddenly liberal, white, heterosexual girl knows what it's like to be Black or to be gay
And
better
oppressed.
than we
More
do.
than they'll ever
and,
know.
and
And
oppressed.
starts talking to me like I'm a dog. Like my sister-in-law is talking to me like I'm a dog, finger in my face. No, I even take a breath to go like, I disagree to her. I don't even get there. I go, no, right from my
So
white
she
voice.
oppressed you. She legitimately oppressed you.
Literally.
To argue with you about
Literally.
oppression.
I thought you wanted to bring up my gay voice. Lift me
I
up.
love it. That is where we've evolved. Like,
God.
come on, white women. Like, and like
Right.
all suburban moms wearing hats like this. Like, oh, look on Instagram. Like, oh, I'm so cute. I'm like,
Yeah.
just you have no idea because they didn't. They were not a part of this movement from back in the day. They have never had to
They're
truly,
fine.
like,
They're trying to find something to identify with.
absolutely.
They feel they need to be a part of a community, and they haven't figured out who the fuck they are.
And the
Because
media
they've
has
hidden
made them
under
feel like they're
because
special.
they've hidden behind their husband, or they followed their traditional whatever
Their
line that
family.
they were meant to do, that it was expected of them, their natural course, and now they're starting to try to rebel, and they have nothing to attach to. So this is what
They're
they're
not
attaching
rebels.
to, and they're so far removed from fucking truth, and they think they're on this, like, they're standing on this mountaintop fighting for something. They're fighting for some fake shit. They don't even realize.
Right.
That's how
and
dumb this is.
They were literally like just doing their own thing when we were all on the front lines, actually fighting back in the 90s. Like that was like a big thing. And it just, I don't know.
Yeah,
But you know what,
this
guys?
is it's spun out of control. And I think the catalyst, with which really rocked the boat the wrong direction, was the whole, and it's all the name calling, and it's still happening. But when we started hearing toxic masculinity, oh my God, that's when like shit
Absolute
really took
bullshit.
a turn for the
I love
right.
toxic
Like I'm like,
masculinity.
I am
If
so attracted to
masculinity
toxic.
is toxic, I want to be poisoned to
I
death.
know, poison
Me
me.
Right.
All of it.
But
Give me
Want
give
your
me a
big
man who can
truck, I
change a
want your
tire.
guns, I want your muscles. I'll take it all.
yeah,
What, you can change a
I am
tire?
all in the toxic
Right? You
all
can
that.
change
masculinity.
the
But let's
toilet, you
face
take
it.
out the trash.
You own a
How about this?
screwdriver?
Let's talk about
Seriously?
toxic femininity. Let's talk about girls start
Oh,
teasing girls
right?
so
Well,
bad that
I
they
think
commit
that's
Right?
suicide.
next week. Will you
Yeah,
come
the,
back
the
with
fact
us?
is, masculinity isn't toxic. Neither is femininity.
No.
Some behavior is toxic.
And it's people who don't feel they feel inferior, and that as though they don't
Yep.
sort of have that same essence of a natural man or a woman. They're inferior, so therefore now we must oppress the normal to make me feel normal. Like everything is so fucking stupid right now. It's weird to be in mental health, and I don't buy into any of the bullshit books that have been published after 2017. I'm like, it's all shit. I can't read it.
I
I'm
don't
all about
disagree.
diversity. I'm all about diversity. This country is founded on diversity.
Thank God.
We made so many strides based on diversity. There's not one person in this country that hasn't come from another background, from another country. I mean, unless you're straight up Indian, like full-blooded, born somewhere in like Wyoming, like you have come from somewhere else. We're all equal because we are all different. I don't give a shit. So it's based on diversity. It's not diversity isn't only about, you're not diverse because I'm sorry, you're not gay. Oh, you're not black. Oh, you're too white. Oh, this has turned into an ass backwards conversation and topic and narrative, and there's got to be somewhere where we stand up and put an end to it, or shut these people down, or if we have to
Or
shame
we
them
fight
the way
back
that
like
they
this.
do we shame
Well,
them?
we do.
Do we shame them? Because
We
now
have
I'm like, I'm just as bad as they are, but I want to shame the shit out of them for even like they're not using their brains.
I
Okay,
don't think we have to shame them. I think they shame themselves.
well,
The
that's just it.
nonsense that they say and do, like it's all out there. But you guys, I hate to do this.
They
Be the
pick
bearer
up on
of
the
bad news.
vulnerable. We got it. We got to
Yeah.
end the show.
I know. I'm getting the little. We're going on
Yeah.
2-hour
End
mark.
it. But listen,
But
I love
so
it. We're gonna open a space. If you guys are listening and want to join
Yeah.
us, we're gonna open a
All right.
space to continue this
There was-
discussion. Will you join us, Gay Dad?
Yeah, I would love to
I'll-
join you because there was one
Good.
more thing I just want to kind of touch upon. But
Yeah,
there
we're
is a
gonna
lot
let
at
you
stake.
finish this out.
Yeah, if you could just let me finish this out.
Okay.
Going back to this "Don't Be Gay" bill, that's a total lie. Is
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did not grow up in this day and age because
Me
I
too.
had a lot of questions about myself, and it took me time to find myself. And another insidious thing about what's being done to the children is they are being taught to question their reality and themselves, and especially with this transing of the children. I am not anti-trans. I just want the real 0.003% trans kids to get their help.
Exactly.
But the worst part, I think, is that feminine, cake baking, sensitive mama's boys, whether they are a hetero boy or a gay boy, or and tomboy girls, because she's sporty and she likes to wear overalls, whether she is straight or a lesbian, are getting swept up in this madness. And as I said,
Yes, they are.
with our gender, whether we're a straight person or a
100%.
gay person, our gender is fine. It's just the difference between a straight and a gay person is our sexuality.
That's
Turning
it.
a gay man into a woman or turning a lesbian into a trans man doesn't help them. And I am so worried for all little boys and girls who show any difference whatsoever that they can easily be swept up in this
That's right.
and
They,
be taught
they're
to,
impressionable.
yeah, and be taught to, because like I said, it was not very apparent to me that I was gay at first. So if you had people telling me, oh, well, I think you're this, oh, I think you're that, I can only imagine how bad it turned out. And I don't believe in trying to make straight boys gay or gay boys straight. And I honestly think that a lot of boys and girls are being groomed into gay and bisexual
Yes.
behavior that is unnatural for them and unhealthy for them.
Yes. Thank
Well, and
you.
I'll
Unless
tell you
they are
this.
gay.
And you know what, Gay Dad? This is one thing that really worries me is that they are absolutely putting this on like autistic kids
Oh,
because
absolutely.
they and it scares the shit out of me because you see, like, they know they're vulnerable and impressionable, and all of a sudden,
No, they know they're different, and they think that by doing this, it will make them feel less different. And
Well,
that's where the grooming
that's
comes in. That's
absolute
where the psychological.
nonsense.
And I
And
agree, the anti-soccer moms are fanning the flames of shit show. This is a shit
They
show
have
brought
nothing
on
else
by
to
them.
do in their life.
They have
This
nothing
is the
else.
whole
Charlize
thing.
They need
Theron
We got to
somebody.
wrap it up. All right.
Transing her toddler sons. Charlize Theron.
Yes.
Transing her
Yeah.
toddler
What
sons.
is that? Yeah.
What the
There's a
actual
lot of them.
hell? What the
Yeah.
actual hell? And
All
it
right.
is my worry for all these kids.
We're being yelled at, Gay Dad. So we're gonna take this to spaces because I feel like this is
Thank
something we
you.
can talk about all night.
We're going
but
to continue on Spaces, Twitter for anybody else that may be listening. You know, except for the people that listen to this in the future, that conversation will have already taken place and you missed out. So sorry.
yeah, we're gonna have a fun night. Thank you for being with us, and Gay Dad, thank
Thanks for
you.
having me, ladies.
You're
We
amazing.
need to have a TBC next week, maybe. I
I
kind of
know.
like
I
this.
feel like there's more to talk about with this, and I think it's a good
I'd be happy.
conversation. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Well, you're
Awesome.
booked. So,
Thank you.
but Lisa, thank you. It has been 9
Thank you, ladies, for
episodes.
having me.
You're so welcome.
And
We'll see you next.
and
Well,
I
we'll
would
see you in
love
about
to
5
see
minutes
you
on
Twitter
Spaces.
Spaces.
Yep.
Just there we go. Lisa, we have done this for 9 weeks. I cannot believe it. I'm super excited.
No.
And
Wow.
I hope it just keeps growing. I love this. And I love the conversation. I think it's important to have this
I do
and
too.
to give a voice to those that are now being silenced, which is so random. Who would have thought? But just
I think it's important to still talk about topics that, you know, are sort of being pushed down right now too, because we're breathing so much oxygen into a who the hell knows what the hell is going on. You know, we're hearing, you know, a completely split narrative, and it's very apparent. So, you know, it's nice to breathe a new topic in, but also sort of dissect what the hell is this about. And, you know, we need to take a magnifying glass because it's growing steam while everybody's looking at Ukraine. Some more shit's going on in the background with this, and you could tell it's going to be a double strike, you know, when it comes back to rear its ugly head again.
What happened? What I
Where
didn't
did
know
this come
about this.
from?
Well, of course you
Where did this
didn't.
come
You
from?
were not paying attention.
You were watching that way.
So with
So,
that
yeah.
said,
I forgot. Am I supposed to be double jabbed and masked this week, or am I supposed to hate Russians this week?
You're supposed to have a
Both.
blue and yellow flag, and virtue signal that way because your cheetah mask needs to
take
just
down
stay
your
in the
gay
back
flag,
seat.
put up your Ukrainian flag. I can't keep up. I'm too old. I just could care less. But Lisa, do you have something that you have to say about Brighteon? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I think so. Brighteon Alpha wanted to let you know that he is now open and rolling, and you know he's been doing fantastic. You guys, he's actually
Amazing.
he's this month's special War Room invitation only is with Patel Patriot. It's only accessible
Love
to the
him.
top tier Patreons, and the tier group can be found on the Brighteon app if you guys go to the Alpha Warrior Show on patreon.com.
Well,
I
and
have more
we'll
information
post it on
that,
our
so.
Twitters.
Yep, and you'll be as being a tiered Patreon, a paid subscription. You actually get to have conversations with Patel Patriot, and every month there'll be a new special guest, and next month there'll be Dr. Judy Mikovits. So I believe on Friday nights he is going to be having Patel Patriot So this is going to be a really kind of amazing
love
thing. I think go check out Patreon. Check out what subscription levels there are. There are different levels of it, and it's I mean, hello, it's the Alpha Warrior. Come on, you guys.
He's amazing. Well,
We're
put
making
it on
history.
Twitter. Yes, we are, and I love it. And I am so sorry, you guys. I've been messing with my eye. If you guys don't know, like I had to go to the emergency or the urgent care because of the stupid dust that got in my eye when I was running, and it's been a mess ever since. So
It's all good, Summer. I think people are mostly just listening to us anyway. They're not really looking at us
at this point. Anyways, I am super excited to wrap up our 9th episode. We did it, girl. Cheers to us. We're the best.
Oh, cheers.
love
Look,
you.
mine's gone, girl. I drank
well,
mine. I love you too.
And thank you, literally, Gay Dad. We'll see you in a few minutes. But to everybody watching that has been supporting us and behind us for the last almost 10 weeks, we love you. We're going to have some fun things coming up that they probably aren't expecting, and I'm super excited about. Like,
I'm super excited. I got a lot of things happening in the background of my own life.
I know. I love it. I'm so excited. So with that said, good night, guys. We love you all. Randy, thank you for taking this on. Go.
Thanks, Randy. Great job.